Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Archer's Garage and whatnot. Today, we're back in the garage. We are working on the Fox Body Mustang again. And, well, I say again, but today's the actual day we're putting hands on the Mustang. Last time, remember, we did a good once-over of the newly rebuilt transmission. Found out it was in good shape. And today, we're going to be fixing the power steering on the car. Next time around, we'll do the transmission. Today, we're doing the power steering. Now, before we start with that, let me tell you the first thing that you need to know about a mechanic. Words a mechanic hates to hear. I brought my own parts. What does that tell you? It tells you I've done my diagnosis. I don't trust your diagnosis. And usually you've gone and bought the cheapest piece of junk parts you could find, and you expect me to put them on your car, and you expect me to warranty these parts. So, that's a way to alienate yourself from any mechanic on the face of the earth. Until I met this young man that owns this car. He came here, he told me he brought his own parts. Of course, you're going to be skeptical about that. But when I started looking at these parts, let me show you what we've got here. So this guy went to late model restoration, and he bought all the right stuff. I couldn't be more impressed with the parts. Now, this is a Ford Motorcraft pump. I don't know if he got that from late model restoration or the dealer, whichever. Great stuff. He bought a complete rack and pinion. The only thing it's missing is the outer tie rods. It's got inner tie rods. Newly rebuilt unit. I mean, this thing is, it's pretty. What do you say? He's got a new high pressure line. He's got a new steering shaft. What more could you want? He also brought the fluid. So, kudos to this customer. He did the right thing. Most of the time you don't get that from a customer. This guy here definitely rewrote the book. So, I'm going to go in here and get started working on this Mustang. Alright, so what we're looking at here, your typical standard 5.0 Mustang. It's got a stock intake manifold, largely factory. Some aftermarket stuff on here. So we're going to go ahead and do the power steering pump and the power steering rack. We're going to start with the pump. Typically what you would do to start here is remove the fan shroud. This gentleman's already done that by putting an electric fan in, so we don't have to mess with that. As he's got undesigned pulleys, it's really cool. And I've disconnected the battery, so in case I hit anything, it doesn't spark and do some unintentional welding. So here's your power steering pump. You gotta remove your serpentine belt and get to your pump. And it takes a special puller on the pulley. So I'll show you guys what that is. And if you don't have that, you can rent one from O'Reilly's or Discount, whatever, or Advanced Auto, whatever you choose to shop at. So anyhow, let me get my tools out and we'll get started. Alright, so the first thing you want to do is remove the belt. Pretty simple. They make special tools for this, but I just take a long pry bar, put it here on the tensioner between the pulley and the tensioner itself. Move it back, remove the belt. Easy peasy. Alright. Now to set up the power steering pulley removal tool. So the way this works, these pieces clamp around the snout of the pulley. This piece pushes against it and it pulls it off. I'll show you all that. Once I get it off, I'll set it up and show you guys how that really works. Alright, so we got the pulley off. Remember what I said about, oh yeah, it's going to be fine because there's no fan. We got the electric fans. Wrong. My puller couldn't fit because this fan was in the way. So anyway, I had to pull the fans out of the way. So the way this puller works, you see here, you put these halves around the front of it. The tool goes there. This piece goes on there to hold the halves together. Hold this with a wrench, and you turn this one with a wrench, and it pushes this way as it pulls that way. So the pulley's off. So anyhow, so now we pull the power steering pump off. So I'm going to show you guys, but it's dark down there and I don't have a light in here, so anyhow, I'll just show you when I get it off. Actually, you know what? I'll try to show it to you. It looks like you might be able to see it. Anyhow, it's just these 3 bolts. Very, very simple. Pull that off. Pump comes backwards. Got a couple lines. Take those off. And I'll see you guys in a minute. Alright, next up, I'm going to remove the power steering rack. So I've got the pump out. We'll do the rack. A little bit of safety tip of the day. As I say in all my videos, when you jack a vehicle up, put your jack stands. If you've ever seen a floor jack give way, they come down fast. There's nothing you can do to get out of the way. A little bit of safety goes a long way. So there you go. And now I'm going to get under there and get the power steering rack out. Alright, the first order of business, got to take tires off, of course. And then you got to take the outer tie rods loose. And it's this cotter pin. Let's see the cotter pin in here. This guy. And then that nut. And then it'll probably be fairly snug in here. So you smack it with a hammer right here on this knuckle end. And it'll come loose. And then we'll get in there and get those bolts there loose. And then we got to get the steering shaft. So it's kind of hard for me to show you all this on camera. So I figured I'd show you before and then I'll show you the after. Alright guys, we are back at it. It is now a couple days since the last video. Had to take a couple days off. I got interrupted, had to go to work, and then the holidays, all these things. And let me show you something that happened on this car. It slowed down the process, and something that you should expect when you're working on a car that's got some age to it. So let me show you here. Alright, so it's a little dark under here, but I think you'll be able to see it. Alright, so you see these guys here. This is what your power steering rack slides on to hold it in place. And then a bolt comes through, then you got a nut on this side. These should not stay in place. However, they did. One of the things you have to deal with sometimes when you're working on cars that have some age to them, you know, just one of those things. So you have to prepare yourself for whatever may go wrong, right? So anyway, so in a case like this, I loosen up the engine mounts and I put a floor jack under the engine pan. I jack the engine up. And the reason I did that is because, see, your oil pan comes down here, right? And your rack, your power steering rack goes here. So I couldn't get it forward enough with these guys here. So I couldn't slide it forward to get it off of these guys. So, anyhow, so I had to jack the engine up, get the thing off there. Now I have to remove these guys. So that's what we're doing now. Alright. So, a little light on the subject here. Just the old vice grips. And they come right out. But to do that while it was in the rack, right, it was a nightmare. But once you get it here, piece of cake. So some things may seem impossible at sometimes and not so impossible at others. Now I just need to put this in the new rack, and there's another one on the other side. We'll do that at the same time. Put the new rack in, and we'll be cooking with gas. Alright guys, so we are back up top. Got the new pump. I'm going to show you how to put this in. It's very, very simple. You put it in 3 bolts, but I will show you when I go to put the pulley back on. So let me get this in there and I'll be right back. Alright, so now we're going to put the pulley on. So here's your power steering pump bolted in, and there's your snout where the pulley goes. Here's your pulley. Alright, it's a press fit. So what you do, the kit comes with, there's a few of them in there, but this is the one that fits this one. It's a bolt that screws into the snout of that pump, and then this screws onto that, and this is what you're going to thread on to push the pulley on. So what you do, you screw this into the front of the pump, and you do it far enough to where it's not going to pull out and ruin your threads. And it's as simple as that. Now, some kits, you have two different setups. You have a remover and then you have a puller kit. This kit here has it all in one. So every manufacturer is different. That's just the way this one is. So like I said, you put this in there. Do not forget to put your pulley on, because then you'll be taking it all back apart. And you'll say some colorful words. Probably a few golly gees. Alright, so we fish him down in there. I don't know how well you can see this, but the bolt goes into the snout of the pump. And then the pulley will find its way on there. Alright, and then now you don't want to go too much past hand tight because you don't want to damage your pump, but I do want to make sure it's on there good, or in there good. How about that? So I don't want to pull the threads out and be hunting another pump. Oops, sorry guys. My wrench keeps coming off the bolt. I'm trying to hurry so you guys don't sit there and see me doing mindless work. Alright, so it's in there pretty good. Alright, so now you put that there. Move that one there. Alright, so I can't stress enough that this is a job for ratcheting wrenches, because you'll be going over and over and over the same area. And as I'm saying that, my ratcheting wrench is seized up. Let me go get another one. Alright, I'm back. So yeah, if you have the ratcheting wrenches at your disposal, definitely use them. Right? Mine, the lever that makes it go forward and back, was frozen up on it. So, making the ratcheting part of it not ratchet. So here we go. Yeah, if you didn't have a ratcheting wrench on this, you'd be about exhausted from this by the end of the day. So basically what you want to do, you want to tighten this up until this pulley lines up with this one and the bottom one. You just kind of eyeball it really good. You don't want to run it all the way up, because now sometimes you can run it all the way up and that's good. But sometimes you can run it all the way up and it'll bottom out. It just depends on what vehicle you're working on. So I just like to keep a good close eye on the other pulleys. And that's about it. That's the gist of it. Let me get you guys out of my way so I can finish this up. Alright, so now we're going to put on the outer tie rod ends. We've got everything bolted up, all the lines on and everything. So at this point, I would normally call you an idiot if you're going to put used parts on all of this new stuff. But that's exactly what we're going to do today, because the new kit didn't come with the outer tie rod ends, and I'm waiting on the new ones from the store. And I want to get this thing out of my garage today so I can get stuff back in the garage. So anyhow, it's only temporary. We're going to put new stuff on. But to do outer tie rods, it's very simple. You break your jam nut loose, and you count the rotations going out. When you put the new one on, count the rotations going back on. Do as close as you can to the same, and then you take it to your alignment shop, and it's as close as you can get. So this was 37 counts coming off. I'm going to do 37 counts going back on. It's as simple as that. And that way when you're going to the alignment shop, you're not chewing up your tires on the way there. So it's as simple as that. Make sure you put your jam nut on first. You don't want to go 37 screws on and then have to take it back off and put your jam nut on and then do it all again. So, a little word from the wise there. But anyhow, but yes, we are putting used parts on, but only for today so I can get the car out of the garage. And anyway, that's going to pretty much do it for this episode. I've got some other stuff to put back together, but I've still got more stuff to do to this car. I've got to do engine mounts. I got to do transmission. clutch, all these things. So I've got to dive back in. So I don't want to put it all back together and take it back apart. So it's kind of a weird situation with this car, the way I'm doing this. So anyhow, I'm going to end it like this here with the used part, show you how to do that. Well, I probably won't. I'll just walk you through how to do it. But anyhow, anytime you're doing these, also, it takes a cotter pin. Put a new cotter pin. They're cheap. It's cheap insurance, right? But anyhow, if you like what we're doing to this thing, come back. I just went through the transmission, made sure the guy bought a good, reliable transmission. I'm going to be putting that in with a new clutch, pressure plate. I can't talk today. I'm doing motor mounts, all these things. So if you have a transmission, or if you have a Ford or Mustang or anything like that, it should cross over pretty closely with what I'm doing. But anyway, I'm having fun out here. I hope you're having fun. And I just wanted to show you that with a little bit of initiative and some hand tools, and I'm not using just hand tools, but largely hand tools, you can do pretty much anything without going to a shop and paying hundreds and hundreds of dollars to the big guy. So you can do it yourself in your garage, on your back, and have a good time doing it. So see you next time, guys.